Hi everybody and welcome to my first scrapbook creation. Today I'm going to be talking you through the scrapbook which I created as a memory for my time in Jersey in December 2016. This is the first time that I've done this, so we're going to just walk through it slowly and I'm going to explain to you the process for what I've done. Okay, so here we have the process which I undertook in order to get the pictures to include in my scrapbook. As you can see, I've been using a HP sprocket to print the pictures off using images that I had on my iPhone. Now, I had a basic idea of the type of things which I'd wanted to include, the images that I'd wanted to include to remember the lasting memories. So here you can see that I'm just editing the pictures to have a slightly bluer hue. This is because I was watching one of Amy Tangerine's videos and she had noted that if you edit them slightly to have a bluer hue, then they actually turn out a little bit better and a bit more realistic. So this is what you can see that I'm doing here and printing them out and building up a collection of the images that I would want to use in the scrapbook. I'd like to also just note at this point that a lot of the inspiration behind my video was by Amy Tangerine, whose videos I will be included in the link below just so that you can get an idea of what she does. Now here you can just see that I'm organising my photographs as well as some of the additional items which I picked up during my time on Jersey. So you can see I've got a few fortune cookie cutouts, I had some postcards which I collected from a vintage store, some receipts, and also some tickets from places that we went to see and the game that we went to watch my friend play in, as well as a newspaper cutout from back in August in, I believe it was the 1950s, 1940s. So I thought that would be really cool to include as well. You can see here that I'm pointing out the La Corbière lighthouse, which is where we had a private tour of all things, which was absolutely wonderful. So yeah, those are just a few of the things which I'd collected and I wanted to include. Now you can see the scrapbook which I made here using the Sail Away embossed and raised card. So that can be seen here, and I'm just showing you some of the designs by Jessica Hogarth. So I'll include a link to that as well below. As you can see here, I'm also organising some raised stickers from Paper House Productions, which I picked up in Hobbycraft. And there's a few sets that I collected, including a beach themed one, some travel themed ones, and also some wine and cheese themed ones. So as you can see here, I'm just cutting out the ones which I think would be most appropriate for our time and categorising them alongside the photographs which we took to kind of organise them in date or by session or what we did at that particular time, so there's kind of like a theme flowing throughout the pages so they're not just completely disjointed. So I think this is a really important step to take when I particularly am planning my scrapbooks, so I have a basic idea of what I want to include on each page. So here this also allowed me the opportunity to see that I had forgotten to print out a particular picture that I'd wanted to include on my first page, so that's what I was just doing there. Then also here you can see that I've just been using my watercolours to add a little bit of extra colour, a pop of colour to this page, which otherwise may have been a bit bland because I hadn't decided to use any cardstock on this particular page. Now here you can see me shaping off some final edges of that image that I wanted to include on my spread before I stick it down and position the airplane sticker on top. Now I find it really important to lay everything out first time round to see if anything works, see if anything needs to be changed before I actually stick down each individual item. Because I prefer to stick down my items and then trim the edges later, here you can see I'm just trimming off around the edge of the scrapbook and adding some annotations here. Now I do move on to edit this slightly because I wasn't quite happy with the handwriting that I'd used, so instead I cover it up with some washi tape and then I use my Dymo label maker to print out the details of our trip. Now as you can see here, I'm including the footage of another spread which I did, which was around the theme of a night out which we had, where we went and got some drinks in a local pub. We played a few games, including a wonderful game which I learned, which is called Shut the Box. and we also had a few drinks, and then we went out for a Chinese meal where we got some fortune cookies, so I've also included them below. So this theme was going to be a bit glitzy and glammy because we're having drinks, and it was just a lot of fun, so I thought I would include some washi tape here, which always is just so easy to add to a scrapbook for an instant kind of colour effect without too much effort. So now you can just see I'm sticking down the top of our scorecards, which had all of our names on the top of it, before filling in some of the gaps with some watercolours. Now this watercolour set is actually one which I had when I was at school, so I've had it for a very long time, but it's still looking pretty good apart from the white, which appears to be running out, so that's me just filling in just over there. And now we're just going to move on to my favourite spread of my booklet which I made, which is a little bit more kind of rustic, I would say. So here I am just sticking down the newspaper clipping from back in the 1950s and cutting around the edges of that to make it nice and neat. Now some of the pictures I've included here are some of my favourites, and I've kind of got pastel hues in them, as well as like the postcard that I included, and it's just really lovely. I really like the way that this spread turned out. And also, as you can see there's a Murray's postcard, which is from Murray's, which is a restaurant that we visited for lunch and also for breakfast on 2 of the days, where it was absolutely wonderful. It's so great. So if you're ever in the area, then I would most certainly say to pop into Murray's and grab something to eat. So having just flicked through and shown you a few of the pages which we've done so far, we're just going to be moving on. So here I am just selecting which cardstock I want to use for my next design, so that, as I said, the Jessica Hogarth designs really are wonderful, and I managed to pick up this booklet from the range where they have a wonderful selection of craft supplies, so that's where I got that from, and I'm just trying out different elements to see which stickers go on which pages before sticking them down, because if you make any mistakes and you've already got the glue on, then that's not going to be too great, is it? So that's what I've just been doing beforehand, deciding on my layout before sticking everything down. Funnily enough, as somebody who can't seem to take their own advice, I actually make a slight error here with the alignment of my photographs, so I decided to stick down another piece of card and also a few stickers just to kind of make it blend a little bit better, because I wasn't too happy with the page. So I need to learn to take my own advice before moving on and sticking down a few Dymo labels just on the side. Now, as you can see here, we're moving on to the final spread of the day, which was one of my favourites, which was inspired by the rugby game that we went to see my friend playing in. So here you can just see that I'm using my watercolours, and I decided to make my own stamps. So some of the advice I would definitely give you when you're stamping is definitely to rub off around the edges of your stamp, just to make sure that you don't get any overlay and any accidental stamping which you don't want to be on there. So that's what I'm just doing here. I'm just rubbing off around the edges and making my own sticker to stick down, because I didn't have one which said Reds on it, so why not make my own one? So now that I'm finally happy with the layout, I eventually decide to stick everything down with glue, and that's it kind of set in place. So now all I need to do is add any special stickers and annotations that I wanted to add to make it a little bit extra special. So here you can see that I decided that I wanted to add the month and the date on the front of my scrapbook, so that I could remember exactly which trip it was that this scrapbook was referring to, and also some little jokes that we had. I put some annotations down there on the rugby page just so that I wouldn't forget the funny things that we'd been laughing about. So here we have the front cover of my booklet for you just to have a little look at, and I'll walk you through some of my pages. So this is the first page with how we got there from Edinburgh to Jersey and the flight that we took with Flybe. I'll always want to remember that. Then we're going to move on to the rugby clip here, which is a red themed, obviously because they're called the Reds, and that was just a wonderful day that I wanted to document. Then in the evening we went out for a meal and for drinks, so I feel that I've managed to include all the details that I want to include there before the next day, when we decided to go on a lovely walk to the beach and to the lighthouse. So we've got our trip to Murray's and also the trip to the lighthouse that day, which you can see on these two previous spreads. So yeah, that's my scrapbook. I'm really pleased with the way in which it turned out, and I'm so glad that I've taken the opportunity to film it for you all to see. Now, as I said previously, I'd be more than happy to link you to Amy Tangerine's YouTube channel, which is my main inspiration for the way in which I conducted this video in the flat lay format. So I'll include links to that below, and also to any of the products that I've used, or any links that I can find which I think might be useful for you if you're wanting to do your own scrapbook spreads. So I'll be happy to include that below. Also, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. And if you also want to, I did create a vlog from my trip to Jersey back in December, which I'll also link below, or you can look on my YouTube channel and see this.